The date they gave to us for visa interview coincided with the exact 9 months of pregnancy, what the hospital will call full term. When we arrived for our interview, our visa interview at the embassy, everybody we saw began to sympathize with us, as if saying, your case is impossible. Welcome back, viewers. Today, I will be telling you an amazing story from an amazing God. How we got a visa at 9 months of pregnancy. How my wife got a visa along with me and my little baby at 9 months of full-term pregnancy. This is unprecedented, and there is no precedent. The U.S. Embassy in Nigeria has a policy of not issuing visas to pregnant women. And my wife got a U.S. visa, a visiting visa, B1, B2 visa, when she was full-term, 9 months pregnant. Let me tell you the story. When my wife was pregnant with my 5th child, his name is Prince Emmanuel, we received a word of knowledge, like a prophecy, that this baby will be born in the U.S. And the baby was already 6 months old in the womb. So I and my wife prayed about it, and we had this assurance that this is what God wants us to do. On behalf of my family, I made an application for U.S. visa for 3 of us to travel, my wife, myself, and our 1-year-old daughter. The appointment did not fall through until when my wife was 9 months pregnant. The date they gave to us for visa interview coincided with the exact 9 months of pregnancy, what the hospital will call full term. When we arrived for our visa interview at the embassy, everybody we saw began to sympathize with us, as if saying, your case is impossible. Nobody ever gets U.S. visa this visibly and heavily pregnant. But God has already prepared us with a refrain. Anybody who would try to console us, my quick retort will be, God has told us we will get this U.S. visa. Has He told you that we will not get visa? And they will immediately say, no, they didn't hear anything from God. And I said, hold your peace. We've already been assured that we will get this visa. We said that countless times to everybody who asked us that question, more than 15 people. Finally, the time came for interview. On that particular day, on that fateful day, literally everybody that came for interview were denied visa. On your left, on your right, everywhere people were being denied visa. So the tension in the hall was so palpable that you could literally feel it. We had to go to use the bathroom several times to ease tension. Finally, it came to our turn. And we were sent particularly to a consular officer who had not given anybody else visa before it came to our turn. We were wondering, how will this prophecy come to pass if we are going to be sent to the toughest of all of the consular? We wanted to avoid that consular, but she summoned us and said, you there, I want you to come to this counter 4. So we came to counter 4. There was no way of escaping that woman. We got there and miracles began to happen. The first thing she did was make us feel at ease. She began to chat with us and began to talk to us and made us so comfortable that instead of an interview, it became a very friendly chat between people that have known themselves for a while. And she asked us easy questions. She asked me questions such as, have you traveled with your wife before? I said, yes. She said, where? We began to list the places we've been to together on holiday. We said we've gone to Europe, we've gone to Netherlands, Sweden, the UK, and we've been to also Denmark, and that we've been to Brazil together. By the time I mentioned 11 countries we've traveled together, she said, okay. And then she said, have you traveled with your child before on a holiday? I said, yes, to South Africa and to Mozambique. And that was all. She stamped, approved on our collection slip and said, come back in 2 days' time for your visa. That was a breakthrough. We left that place literally singing and dancing. And everybody who heard it began to sing and dance with us because they said, this is unprecedented. You are the first person that we've seen heavily pregnant that will be given visa to go to the US to have delivery. That was how God did the unusual, the unprecedented, and made us become the first, the first president in the US Embassy giving somebody who was fully pregnant 9 months in Nigeria, in Abuja. Getting the US visa was overcoming the first hurdle. But there were many more hurdles ahead of us for us to overcome before our child could be safely delivered in the US. The next immediate hurdle in front of us was getting a US ticket, a return ticket for the delivery of the child. We were required to disclose that my wife was heavily pregnant. So we informed the airline, Delta Airline, that my wife was pregnant. And they asked us for how far gone is she. We said she's 9 months pregnant. They said it's too risky for them to accept to issue tickets to her. And we kept insisting. Finally, they said we should go and get a report, a medical report from her doctor, from the gynae doctor that had been managing her all through this period. So we went back to the hospital, Mimi Hospital, and met with the doctor who examined her thoroughly. And after he did, they said he feels compelled to give a clean bill of health, that he believed that my wife would be able to make it. And then he issued a report. We took that medical report back to the airline, and then they issued the ticket. We celebrated that victory. That was another victory, another hurdle crossed. Now we had another hurdle of getting into the flight. The Nigerian immigration also tried to stop us, and God helped us to overcome that hurdle. Finally, we got into the flight, and as the plane took off, about 20,000 feet above sea level, the baby began to contract so much. In quick succession, the labor was progressing. It looks like the baby was going to be born in the flight. Now we are being told that any baby that is born on a flight in between the Nigeria and the US will be called a stateless baby, because officially the flight has left Nigerian airspace. And they said this baby will be stateless if this baby was born on board that airline. My wife said, pray, lay your hands on my womb and speak to this child. The child will hear you. I did as my wife advised. And I said, Prince, that was the name we called our son. We don't want you to be a stateless child. We want you to be born. You are going to be born in the US on the 4th of July. Because we've been told that this baby will be born on the 4th of July in the US. The prophecy was that exact. So we said, Prince, stop contracting. It's not yet time for you to be born. And miraculously, Prince heard us and stopped his contraction. I and my wife began to celebrate that victory, that small victory. And as my wife began to relax and unloose her belt so that she could feel freer, the chief air hostess walked by. And when she saw the size of my wife's tummy, she literally froze in front of us and said, who permitted this heavily pregnant woman to come on board this flight? And she began to raise hell and began to call all the different flight attendants and ask, didn't you see this lady when she was coming in? Don't you know the rules? She was really raising hell, and we were wondering where all of this would end. So we began to pray and said, God, when you begin a thing, you complete it. Bring this woman, cause this woman to stop raising hell. Cause her to stop raising any complication. And amazingly, God heard our prayer and she just stopped and walked away, and we didn't hear from her until the end of the flight. But then my wife began to recall that we had a negative testimony, that there was a lady from Nigeria who was only a few months pregnant, about 4 or 5 months pregnant. And she came with this same airline to the US. And on arrival at the immigration point, when they discovered she was 5 months pregnant, she was sent back with the same flight that brought her to the US. So my wife began to worry, if that will not be our case with this chief air hostess raising all of these questions. We began to pray and commit that condition, that situation to the Lord, because the Bible said, cast all your cares upon me, for I cared for you. And the Bible also says, be anxious about nothing, but in every situation, by prayer and with thanksgiving, make your request known unto God. And the peace of God that passes all understanding will keep your heart and mind. Viewers, that's how God addressed all the issues in flight until we safely arrived in the US. When we come back, I'll be telling you the amazing testimony of how we pulled through successfully at the customs and immigration at the tarmac. Stay tuned.
Viewers, the only thing I can tell you is stay tuned. This story is developing, is gripping. Marvelous things to hear. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Send this video to your friends. Tell them how God is performing miracles in our day. Send us your comments and God will bless you.